What's up, YouTube? We back with another review. This is DandaDan, episode 6. Let's get it! And so the episode starts off with Turbo Granny. She's explaining to Akaran and Momo that his balls, they're wrapped in a gold veil of her spiritual energy, and it should be easy to find. They both say, huh? A small gold ball? They can't find it anywhere. And so Turbo Granny says, well, if you can't find them, then somebody picked them up. She also then tells them that spirits and monsters also come back from the dead, looking to gather powerful life forces and take them from humans with the hope that they'll be able to come back alive from being dead. And so Momo tells Turbo Granny, this is bad news. If somebody picked up the balls, we're not going to be able to find them. Turbo Granny says, that sounds like a personal problem. She says, I don't care about that. And right after, Momo and Akaran, they get mad at her, so they start stumping her out. They say, this was your fault from the beginning. And so after the beatdown, we move to the next scene. They go back to Grandma's house. And so when they get there, Momo's grandma, she says, any luck on finding the balls? They say, no, we couldn't find it. And so the anime goes to the next scene. They're back at school. And Akaran, he walks into his class, and he's greeted by another student. He grabs him, and he says, hey, you dating Momo, right? And he's like, no, that's just my friend. And so this guy, he's saying, hey, man, hook me up with her. I think she cute. And so he says, cute. He goes kind of wild. He's like, wait, she is cute. I never thought about it like that. And so after he snaps out of his daze, he's talking to the guy, and the guy says, hey, I heard that she's easy to get with. And Akaran, he grows furious. He's like, she's what? She's not that type of girl. Then he transforms back to Turbo Granny, and he gets to choking this guy out. And so after standing on business for his friend, he lets the guy go, and he goes to sit down. But crazy enough, as he sit down, he sees Turbo Granny in his backpack. So he runs out the door, and he goes into the hallway. And he starts talking to Turbo Granny. Turbo Granny says, hey, look like you're in trouble. She says, now you can't handle all that power inside of you. How about you let me back inside and get my power back? Akaran sees the finesse she's trying to pull, and he says, hey, I'm not falling for that. First you get my balls back, then I'll return you back to your powers. And so shortly afterwards, Momo arrives, and she says, hey, Akaran. He tries to tell her that Turbo Granny is here in his backpack, but Turbo Granny drops to the floor, and she says, hey, be quiet. And Momo tells Akaran, she says, hey, what's up with you? Because he's looking all weird at her. He's flustered, and he's frozen. He don't know what to say to her because he's caught up in her looks. He's thinking to himself, man, she is cute. And so he can't say anything. So he tries to get away from her. She says, hey, come back, talk to me. He says, hey, get away from me. And so she chases him. And so as she's chasing him around the school like a mad woman, Turbo Granny sneaks out of the backpack, and she says, I haven't enjoyed campus life in a long time. So she gets free, and she roams the hallways of the school. Turbo Granny's on the loose. Until after that, it goes back to Momo being in the classroom with her friend. And as she's talking to her friend says, hey, you having babe problems? Why you so down? She says, yeah, 'cause he's totally avoiding me. And she says, hey, he's not my boyfriend. And her friend tells her, hey, he's not that bad of a guy. And Momo, she gets thrown off. She says, huh? What would make you say that? She said that she heard some people talking about Akaran getting into a fight defending her from people spreading rumors about her. And she's like, huh? Well, then why is he avoiding me? And so as we move along to the next scene, we get to find out the person that's spreading these nasty rumors about her. And it's Era, the pretty girl from earlier who was bad-mouthing Akaran, and the one that she dropped the wash bin onto her head. And Era, she's looking to get revenge on her. She thinks that Momo is a demon because after that earlier altercation, she was able to see traces of Momo's psychic powers, and she mistakenly thought she seen demon wings. And so she's convinced that Momo's a demon. She also says that she believes that she's a chosen one, and she's the one that has to fight demons from this world because of a recent event, and where a special gold ball has fallen into her hand. And so she gets with her friends, and they come up with a plan to cast this demon out of Momo. And the next scene goes on to highlight how she retrieved this special gold ball. The anime showcases that one night that a ball just fell onto her head randomly. And after she grabbed this ball, a strange out-of-body moment happened. She awakened special abilities in her body that she never thought she had. And so after this strange phenomenon happens, it goes back to her being at school. and she meets with her friends, and they come up with a plan to take down Momo. And after gathering tools to extract this so-called demon, Era vows in front of her friends that she's gonna do this, and she's gonna save the world. And her friends are like, yeah, we believe you, man, but you've been acting weird lately. So they don't really believe her. And so, out of the blue, she catches something out of the side of her eye. She tells her friends to get down. She believes that a woman in a red dress is spying on them, acting as Momo's double. Her friends are like, man, we don't see anything. This girl is crazy. And what happens next is kind of weird. Turbo Granny shows up, and she's been watching this girl the whole time. Huh? And so the next scene goes to Akaran and Momo. They're sitting down having snacks and eating. And Momo's still confused. She's like, why are you not looking at me? And Akaran makes up a lame excuse. He's like, I'm watching over Turbo Granny. And Momo says, hey, why is she here anyway? She shouldn't even be at school. And so Turbo Granny tells her, she says, hey, I don't have to listen to you. And after they brief little squabble, Akaran informs Momo that Turbo Granny has found a strange woman. And so Turbo Granny tells them, she says, yeah, I was walking around the school looking for the gold balls. And Momo says, hey, why the hell were the gold balls we at school? Akaran says, hey, it's worth the search. He also says that maybe a human picked up this ball, not a monster. And Turbo Granny says, yes, it looks like a gold and pretty ball. So anybody could have picked it up. And Turbo Granny also says that the person that picks up this ball can awaken their spiritual powers. And depending on the person, they can also see spirits. And if they can see spirits, then the spirits can see them, which could put them in danger. Momo and Akaran are surprised. They're like, hey, you should have been told us this. And so after arguing, Turbo Granny says, don't worry about it. I'll show you the strange woman after school. And so as we move along, we go back to the pretty young girl, Era. She's in her classroom thinking about Momo. She's saying, just how powerful is she? And can I defeat her? She says she also has somebody acting as her body double. And as she gets up and looks out the window, she sees a strange woman in a red dress. And this is the woman she thinks is Momo's body double. She says, hey, it's getting closer and closer. And so the next scene, it has her running into Akaran and Momo, surprisingly. She convinced Momo to meet her after school. And after finessing Momo, Momo agrees. And so afterwards, we get to her meeting with Era later on. And to Momo's surprise, she's ambushed. And after Era's friend zip tie her, she can't move. And so Era then goes on and says, I'm going to kill you, demon. And she goes along to start her ritual to cast this demon out of her. She tells her friends to hold her down, make sure she don't move. But Momo still uses her psychic powers, and she fends off her friends and she throws them to the ground. After the first ritual method fails, Era then says, I'll use this golden ball that I've gotten from the heavens. And so as she shoves it in Momo's face, Momo hilariously says, hey, that's Akaran's nutsack. And after Era desperately tries to defeat Momo with this special ball, Akaran pulls up. And he tells Momo that this is not the strange woman. This is the woman that's being targeted by her. And in an instant, a monster in a red dress appears. And she snatches Era. And it shows a flashback of Era being a child reaching for her mother. Is she somehow connected to this monster? And so as the monster's holding Era in her hands, Momo tells Akaran, turn into Turbo Granny. And so after he transforms, he tries to grab Era from this monster. But she's very fast and very quick. And after finessing him, she grabs him too. She says that you're not going to take my Era from me, and proceeds to try to eat him. But Momo arrives. And as Akaran's almost down this monster's throat, she uses her psychic powers to stop this from happening. But the monster wars it off. She kicks Momo to the ground, and then she eats Akaran, and it goes back to her and Era. She tells Era that I've been waiting so long for you to see me, and the monster then implies that she's her mother somehow. And after this monster's talking with Era, Momo pops back up, and she yells to this monster, she says, give Akaran back. The monster replies and says, this is an emotional reunion I'm having. Y'all keep interrupting me. And surprisingly, Turbo Granny arrives out of the rubbish. And Momo's surprised. She's like, what the hell? And after looking at this monster, Turbo Granny then says, this is a Yoki monster. And her name's Acrobatic Silky. And after giving us some lore about this monster, Turbo Granny and Momo can hear Era yelling at this monster. Era says that you're a demon, and I'll defeat you and I'll hold up world peace. Acrobatic Silky is disappointed. She then eats Era. Momo says, hey, you can't just be eating people like that. Acrobatic Silky says, this is all your fault. You made her call me a demon. And after that, Acrobatic Silky then eats Momo. Turbo Granny then arrives. She tells Acrobatic Silky to release the brats. Acrobatic Silky replies. She says, hey, who the hell do you think you are? I'm your elder. Speak to me nice. Turbo Granny then says, when you swallow Momo, you accidentally ate some of your own hair. And right as she says that, Acrobatic Silky hairs burst into flames, and her whole body is burning. And as her body's burning, Momo must have used her psychic powers inside, because they're then ripped out of her body and thrown to the ground. Because of Momo's powers, they survive. And so guys, that wraps up episode 6. Be tuned for episode 7. I'm out.